Adedoyin's heart raced as she crouched behind the old mango tree, the moonlight filtering through the leaves like silver whispers. The night was thick with an unsettling tension, a stark contrast to the usual serenity of Oke-Ibadan village. Just hours ago, she had been fetching water before dawn, her hands callous from endless chores under the watchful gaze of her stepmother, Yabo. But now, a chilling realization gripped her. The woman she called mother was not a protector, but a predator. The sound of hushed voices drew her closer to the edge of the yard. Shadows flickered like dark flames, revealing 4 women draped in black wrappers, their faces obscured by the night. Adedoyin's breath hitched. Among them was Yabo, her furious eyes gleaming with a malevolence that sent shivers down Adedoyin's spine. "It is time," one woman whispered, her voice a sinister melody. Yabo's response echoed in Adedoyin's mind. "In 3 nights, Folarin's spirit will be ours." The words struck like a bolt of lightning. Her father, Baba Folari, a kind-hearted farmer, oblivious to the darkness lurking in their home, would become a pawn in Yabo's twisted game for power. Adedoyin's instincts kicked in, and she turned to run, but a dry stick snapped beneath her foot. "Catch her!" Yabo screamed, her voice a piercing dagger. Adedoyin's heart pounded in her chest as black smoke enveloped her, seeping into her lungs, pulling her into a void. When she awoke, the world felt different. Her limbs were gone, replaced with hooves. The realization hit her like a tidal wave. She had transformed into a goat. Tied outside the kitchen, she bled in despair, her spirit crushed. Yabo's laughter echoed in her mind as she was carted to the bustling Oje market where Yabo bellowed, "Strong goat for sale." But no one bought her, leaving her with nothing but her thoughts and the flickering hope of escape. Then, a weary hunter named Adegoke approached. He examined her with weary eyes, muttering, "Tomorrow, you'll make a fine stew." Adedoyin's heart sank further as she realized her fate rested in the hands of a stranger. But that night, a flicker of hope ignited when Adegoke's son, Ayotunde, crept outside. His curious gaze met hers, and he whispered, "You look human." To his astonishment, she found her voice, faint but clear. "Help me. I am Adedoyin. My stepmother cursed me." Ayotunde trembled but nodded, his eyes wide with determination. "I will protect you." As dawn broke, the stakes rose. Adegoke raised a knife, ready to end her misery. Ayotunde's voice cut through the tension. "Papa, let's take this goat to Baba Alamu, the wise elder." His plea hung in the air, a fragile thread of hope against the looming darkness. Reluctantly, Adegoke agreed, and they set off on a journey fraught with uncertainty. Dust rose with each step, but Ayotunde's grip on Adedoyin's heart tightened. The road ahead was long, and the stakes higher than ever. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the village of Oke-Ibadan. Adedoyin, still trapped in her goat form, felt the weight of despair settled heavily on her chest. Each step Adegoke took echoed her own silent prayers for liberation. Ayotunde walked beside her, his small hand resting on her back, a gesture of comfort in a world turned upside down. As they approached Baba Alamu's clay hut, the air grew thick with the scent of herbs and secrets. The elder was known for his wisdom, a beacon of hope in a village often shrouded in darkness. Adedoyin's heart raced with anticipation. Would he be able to break the curse that had turned her life into a nightmare?
"What brings you to my humble abode?" he asked, his voice deep and resonant. Ayotunde spoke first, recounting their harrowing tale. Adedoyin listened intently, her heart swelling with gratitude for the boy's bravery. As he spoke, she could feel the weight of her story hanging in the air, the injustice of her transformation fueling her resolve. Baba Alamu nodded thoughtfully. A curse born of envy and malice can only be undone by the truth, he said, glancing at Adedoyin. But first, we must prepare. For hours, they gathered herbs and whispered incantations. Adedoyin felt a strange energy coursing through her, a glimmer of hope igniting within her as Baba Alamu began the ritual. He touched her horns gently, sprinkling white powder over her, murmuring words that danced through the air like a forgotten lullaby. As the ritual reached its peak, a warm light enveloped her, and for the first time since her transformation, Adedoyin felt a flicker of her true self returning. The sensation was overwhelming. Her horns began to shrink, her hooves fading away, replaced by familiar arms and legs. She gasped as she regained her human form, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm back!" she exclaimed, her voice breaking under the weight of emotion. Ayotunde cheered, his joy infectious. But Baba Alamu's expression turned grave. "The real battle lies ahead, child. Your stepmother's power is rooted in darkness. You must return to your village and confront her." Adedoyin nodded, determination filling her heart. She could no longer be a victim. She would reclaim her life. But as they left the hut, a shadow loomed in the distance. Iyabo's presence was palpable, like a storm brewing on the horizon. The night was thick with tension as Adedoyin and Layotunde made their way back to Oke-Ibadan. The village, once a place of comfort, felt foreign and hostile. The moon hung low, casting airy shadows that danced along the path, mirroring the turmoil within her. Adedoyin was back in her human form, but the scars of her transformation lingered, both physically and emotionally. As they approached her home, the familiar sight of the attached roofed house brought a rush of memories. Yet, the warmth of nostalgia was quickly overshadowed by fear. What awaited her inside? Would Iyabo's wrath be even more ferocious now that she had escaped her curse? "Stay close," Ayotunde whispered, his small hand gripping her as tightly as they crept towards the door. Adedoyin felt a surge of gratitude for the boy's bravery. He had become her ally in a world where she felt so alone. Inside, the house was dark, the silence suffocating. Iyabo's laughter echoed faintly from the back, a sound that once brought comfort but now sent chills down Adedoyin's spine. She peeked through the doorway, her heart racing as she saw Iyabo seated at the table, a smug expression on her face. "Tomorrow I'll find a new way to harness his power," Iyabo said to herself, her eyes glinting with malice. Adedoyin's stomach twisted at the thought of her father, Baba Folarin, being nothing more than a pawn in Iyabo's game. Determined to confront her stepmother, Adedoyin stepped into the room, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "Iyabo!" Iyabo's head snapped up, surprise washing over her features, quickly replaced by fury. "You! I thought I had rid myself of you." Adedoyin's heart raced, but she stood her ground. "You may have turned me into a goat, but I have returned stronger. The village will know the truth about you." As she spoke, she felt the weight of her father's absence pressing down on her. She could not do this alone. She needed allies. The villagers deserved to know the monster hiding behind Iyabo's facade. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, drawing their attention. A group of villagers had gathered, murmuring in concern. Adedoyin knew this was her moment. She had to rally them to her cause and reveal Iyabo's true nature. "Help me!" she cried out, her voice rising above the chaos. "Iyabo seeks to harm my father for her own gain." The crowd hesitated, confusion etched on their faces. But Adedoyin saw a flicker of recognition in their eyes. They too had felt the weight of Iyabo's tyranny. "Let's go!" she urged, her voice stronger now. "Together we can stand against her." As the villagers moved closer, Iyabo's expression twisted into a mask of rage. "You will regret this, Adedoyin," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. Adedoyin felt a surge of hope. They were no longer alone in this fight. The rising suspense was palpable as the villagers began to whisper among themselves, curiosity igniting the spark of rebellion. The following day, the vibrant Oje market buzzed with life. Vendors called out their goods, the air thick with the scent of spices and laughter. Yet, for Adedoyin, the market was a battleground. She had returned to reclaim her narrative, to assure that Iyabo's dark influence would no longer control her life or the lives of others. As she walked among the stalls, memories flooded back, times when she had been just a girl, laughing and playing with other children. Now she felt the weight of her experience pressing down on her. Her transformation had not just been physical, it had changed her perception of what it meant to be strong. Adedoyin spotted familiar faces, villagers who had whispered about her misfortunes, some who had turned their backs when she needed help the most. But today, she would not falter. Today she was armed with the truth. "Adedoyin, is it really you?" a voice called out. It was Mama Tola, the village herbalist. She rushed over, her eyes wide with disbelief. "We thought you were lost forever." "I was lost," Adedoyin replied, her voice steady. "But I returned to expose Iyabo's evil. She plans to harm my father for her own gain." The crowd around them began to murmur, uncertainty mingling with curiosity. Adedoyin's heart raced. She had to keep their attention. "Iyabo seeks power through darkness. She cursed me, turned me into a goat, but I broke free. Now I need your help to protect my father." Mama Tola stepped forward, her expression serious. "We have all felt the weight of Iyabo's tyranny. It's time we stood together." The villagers nodded, their resolve strengthening. Adedoyin felt a surge of hope. Perhaps they could unite against Iyabo's darkness. But just as the tide began to turn, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows. Iyabo, her presence suffocating and menacing. "Foolish girl," Iyabo sneered, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. "You think you can rally the villagers against me? They know better than to trust a cursed child." The crowd wavered, doubt creeping into their hearts. Adedoyin's stomach churned. Iyabo had always had a way of manipulating perceptions, twisting truths to serve her own ends. "Listen to her lies," Adedoyin implored, her voice rising above the noise. "I am not cursed. I am a survival. I faced the darkness and I'm here to fight back." With every word, she felt the power of her truth resonating within her. The villagers began to rally around her, their determination igniting a fire within her heart. "Together, we can banish Iyabo's darkness," Adedoyin shouted, her voice strong and clear. "We will not let her control us any longer." Iyabo's face twisted in fury, but the villagers stood firm, united in their resolve. The rising suspense hung in the air, an electric current of hope and defiance. Adedoyin had transformed from a victim into a leader, and the tide was turning in her favor. As the crowd closed ranks, Adedoyin felt a profound shift within her. The stakes were higher than ever, and the battle was only just beginning. Adedoyin stood at the center of the market, the villagers forming a protective circle around her. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Iyabo's furious glare bore down on them. Adedoyin's heart raced, but she felt an unyielding strength within her. She had tasted despair, and now she was ready to fight for her family and her home. "Together we can end Iyabo's reign of terror," Adedoyin shouted, her voice strong and clear. "We will not let her control us any longer." Iyabo's face twisted in fury, but the villagers stood firm, united in their resolve. The rising suspense hung in the air, an electric current of hope and defiance. Adedoyin had transformed from a victim into a leader, and the tide was turning in her favor. As the crowd closed ranks, Adedoyin felt a profound shift within her.
The stakes were higher than ever, and the battle was only just beginning. Adedoyin stood at the center of the market, the villagers forming a protective circle around her. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Iyabo's furious glare bore down on them. Adedoyin's heart raced, but she felt an unyielding strength within her. She had tasted despair, and now she was ready to fight for her family and her home. "Together we can end Iyabo's reign of terror," Adedoyin shouted, her voice strong and clear. "We will not let her control us any longer." Iyabo murmured in anger, but her voice was offused to doubt the villagers. "All of you should not forget the time when my son fell sick and died." The youths filled their eyes with tears, but Adedoyin stood firm and even fought her. "I faced the darkness of your spell and emerged stronger. I am no longer just a girl, I am a fighter." Ayotunde put his hands on Adedoyin's shoulders. "Adedoyin saved me, and she can save us all. We must believe in her." His words struck a chord, and the crowd began to chant Adedoyin's name. "Adedoyin! Adedoyin!" Their voices rose in unison, a powerful wave of solidarity. The chant filled the air, drowning out Iyabo's attempts to regain control. Frustrated, Iyabo stepped back, her eyes narrowing. "You think this changes anything? You are all fools if you believe her lies." As the villagers rallied around Adedoyin, she realized that she had transformed from a victim into a leader, igniting hope where there had once been despair. But the battle was far from over. With Iyabo still lurking in the shadows, Adedoyin knew they needed a plan. "Let's gather at the Iroko tree tonight," she proposed, her voice steady and strong. "There we can strategize and prepare for Iyabo's next move." The villagers agreed, their spirits lifted. As they dispersed, Adedoyin felt a sense of purpose swell within her. She would not only protect her father, but also reclaim the village from the clutches of darkness. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over Oke-Ibadan, Adedoyin stood at the base of the great Iroko tree, surrounded by the villagers. The tree, a symbol of strength and resilience, had witnessed countless stories of their ancestors. Tonight, it would witness a new chapter. "Thank you all for coming," Adedoyin began, her voice calm and strong. "Iyabo may be powerful, but together we can stand against her." Mama Tola stepped forward, a bundle of herbs in her hands. "We must prepare ourselves. Iyabo will not back down easily. We need protection against her dark magic." Adedoyin nodded, her heart racing. "What can we do?" "We will create protective charms," Mama Tola explained, "and I can teach you some ancient incantations to counter her magic."
As the villagers gathered around, they began to work together, tying herbs and crafting charms. Adedoyin felt a sense of camaraderie she hadn't experienced in years. The atmosphere buzzed with energy, laughter, and shared stories, knitting them closer together. But as they worked into the night, a sudden chill swept through the air. Adedoyin's instincts flared. Something was coming. She glanced at Ayotunde, who looked just as uneasy. "Do you feel that?" she asked. Before he could respond, a shadow loomed at the edge of the clearing. Iyabo emerged, her presence suffocating and dark. "You think you can fight me with herbs and chants?" she taunted, her voice low and menacing. "You are merely children, playing sorcery." Adedoyin stepped forward, her heart racing but her resolve unwavering. "We are not afraid of you, Iyabo. Your reign of terror ends tonight." Iyabo's laughter echoed through the clearing, cold and bitter. "You are naive, Adedoyin. You have no idea the power I possess." As she spoke, darkness began to swirl around her, tendrils of shadow reaching out like fingers grasping for prey. Adedoyin's heart raced, but she refused to back down.
She looked to the villagers, their eyes wide with fear, and felt the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. "We must stand together," Adedoyin shouted, her voice piercing through the tension. "We have the strength of our ancestors behind us." With a surge of courage, the villagers joined hands, forming a circle around Adedoyin. They began to chant the incantations Mama Tola had taught them, their voices rising in unison. The air pulsed with energy as the protective charms glowed softly in the darkness. Iyabo's expression shifted from amusement to anger as the light encircled them. "You think you can defeat me? I am the darkness." But as Adedoyin led the chant, she felt a power awakening within her, a connection to the generations that had come before her. The villagers' voices resonated in harmony, filling the air with a palpable strength. The shadows recoiled, and for the first time, Adedoyin felt the tide turning. Iyabo's expression morphed into one of panic as the light grew brighter, pushing back the darkness that had once consumed her. "No!" Iyabo screamed, her voice laced with desperation. "You cannot do this!" But Adedoyin stood firm, her heart pounding with determination. "We can and we will." As the villagers united, the darkness began to dissipate, and Adedoyin felt a surge of hope. This was more than a battle against Iyabo. It was a fight for their freedom, their future, and their identity. The battle against Iyabo's darkness raged on, but Adedoyin felt a flicker of triumph as the shadows retreated. The villagers' chants filled the air, a powerful declaration of unity and strength. Yet, she knew this was just the beginning. The true test lay ahead, and they needed to be prepared for whatever Iyabo had planned. As dawn broke, the first rays of sunlight pierced through the remnants of the night, illuminating the clearing beneath the iroko tree. Adedoyin looked around at the faces of her fellow villagers, determination etched in their expressions, a sense of purpose igniting their spirits. "Today, we take the fight to Iyabo," Adedoyin declared, her voice resonating with confidence. "But we must be strategic. We cannot underestimate her." Mama Tola stepped forward, her wise eyes scanning the group. "We need to gather more allies. There are others in the village who have suffered under Iyabo's cruelty. If we unite, we can amplify our strength." The villagers nodded in agreement, a collective resolve fueling their determination. Together, they would reclaim their village and protect Baba Fulari from Iyabo's sinister plans. As they split into groups, Adedoyin and Ayotunde ventured toward the outskirts of the village. The path was familiar yet foreign, memories of a simpler time flooding her mind. She glanced at Ayotunde, who walked beside her with unwavering determination. "Do you think we can really defeat her?" he asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Adedoyin smiled reassuringly. "We can, Ayotunde. Together, we are stronger than any darkness."
Their first stop was the home of Baba Tunde, a respected elder known for his wisdom and strength. As they approached his house, Adedoyin felt a mix of hope and apprehension. Would he believe in their cause? Would he be willing to join their fight? Knocking on the door, Adedoyin took a deep breath. The door creaked open, revealing Baba Tunde, his expression curious yet guarded. "Adedoyin, what brings you here?" "Baba Tunde, we need your help," Adedoyin implored, her voice steady. "Iyabo's power is growing and she threatens our families. We must unite to stand against her." Baba Tunde's brow furrowed as he considered her words. "Iyabo is a formidable foe. Many fear her, but you speak with conviction. What do you propose?" Adedoyin outlined their plan, explaining the need for unity and strength in numbers. As she spoke, she could see the flicker of recognition in Baba Tunde's eye, the spark of hope igniting within him. "Very well," he said finally, nodding. "I will join your cause. We cannot allow her tyranny to continue." With Baba Tunde on her side, Adedoyin felt a surge of confidence. They quickly gathered more allies, each person adding strength to their growing coalition. The village buzzed with energy as more voices joined their cause, echoing Adedoyin's rallying cry against Iyabo's darkness. As the sun began to set, Adedoyin gathered everyone beneath the iroko tree once more. The air was thick with anticipation as they prepared for the confrontation ahead. She felt the weight of her father's absence, but she carried his spirit with her, determined to protect him at all costs. "Tonight we stand united," Adedoyin proclaimed, her voice ringing clear. "We will confront Iyabo and put an end to her reign of terror. Together, we will reclaim our village." The villagers erupted in cheers, their voices rising in unison, a powerful symphony of hope and defiance. Adedoyin's heart swelled with pride. They were no longer just individuals, they were a community ready to fight for their freedom. But even as the cheers echoed in the night, a shadow loomed in the distance. Adedoyin's instincts fled as she sensed Iyabo's presence. The rising suspense filled the air, a palpable tension that made her heart race. She knew that Iyabo would not take their defiance lightly. "Stay alert," Adedoyin cautioned, her voice steady. "Iyabo will come for us. We must be ready." As the villagers prepared for the impending confrontation, Adedoyin felt a mix of fear and determination. This was a battle not just for her father, but for the very soul of their village. They were on the cusp of something monumental, and together they would face whatever darkness lay ahead. The moon hung high in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over Oke-Ibadan. The villagers gathered beneath the expansive branches of the Iroko tree, their faces illuminated by the soft light. Adedoyin felt a sense of urgency. The time for action was upon them. As the crowd settled, Babatunde stepped forward, his presence commanding respect. "Tonight, we confront Iyabo," he declared, his voice deep and steady. "But we must approach this battle with wisdom. Her power is not to be underestimated." Adedoyin nodded, grateful for his guidance. "We need a plan to counter her dark magic. Mama Tola, what can we do?" Mama Tola stepped into the circle, a bundle of herbs clutched tightly in her hands. "We can create protective charms that will shield us from her spells. We must also be prepared to counter her darkness with light." The villagers listened intently as Mama Tola explained the ancient rituals. Adedoyin felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. They were not just fighting against the Iyabo, they were harnessing the strength of their ancestors. As the villagers began to craft charms and prepare their defenses, Adedoyin felt the weight of her responsibility grow. She was not just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every villager who had suffered under Iyabo's tyranny. Suddenly, a rustling noise broke the calm of the night, and Adedoyin's heart raced. She turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows. A woman cloaked in darkness, her eyes gleaming with malice. It was Iyabo. Adedoyin's breath hitched as the crowd fell silent, fear rippling through them. Iyabo's presence was suffocating, an aura of dread that seemed to drain the very light from the air.
"Fools!" Iyabo spat, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you can stand against me? You are nothing but a gathering of lost souls." Adedoyin stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her resolute unwavering. "We are not lost, we are united, and we will reclaim our village from your darkness." Iyabo's laughter echoed through the clearing, a sound that sent chills down Adedoyin's spine. "You think your unity can protect you? I will show you what true power is." With a wave of her hand, darkness surged toward the villagers, tendrils of shadow reaching out like claws. Adedoyin felt the air grow heavy, the weight of despair pressing down on her. But she refused to falter. "Now," she shouted, rallying the villagers, "use the charms, protect each other." As the villagers activated their charms, a brilliant light erupted from the charms, pushing back the encroaching darkness. The air crackled with energy as the two forces collided, light against shadow. Adedoyin felt the warmth of hope enveloping her, but she knew this was just the beginning of a fierce battle. Iyabo's power was formidable, and they needed to remain strong. "Babatunde, we need your wisdom," Adedoyin called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. "What do we do next?" Babatunde stepped forward, his eyes focused and resolute. "We must confront her with our truth. Iyabo thrives on fear. We must show her that we are not afraid." With renewed determination, Adedoyin rallied the villagers. "Let's show Iyabo the strength of our unity. Together, we can break our hold over us. As the villagers formed a circle, chanting the incantations, Adedoyin felt the energy shift. The darkness began to recede, but his Yabo's fury only intensified. "You think this is over?" Yabo screamed, her voice a tempest of rage. "I will not be defeated by the likes of you." But Adedoyin stood firm, her heart racing with defiance. "You may have caused us pain, but we are stronger than you know." As the villagers united their voices, a wave of light surged forward, pushing back the shadows. Adedoyin felt a surge of hope, knowing that they were on the verge of reclaiming their village.
Adedoyin felt a chill run down her spine. Iyabo's words cut deep, but she refused to let fear take hold. "We are not afraid of you," she yelled, her determination unwavering. "Your darkness cannot define us." As the villagers continued to chant, they began to form a protective barrier of light around Adedoyin. The shadows writhed and twisted, attempting to break through, but the villagers' resolve held strong. Adedoyin could feel the warmth of their unity, a protective shield that fortified her spirit. But then, a sudden silence fell over the clearing. The villagers paused, their voices faltering as Iyabo unleashed a wave of darkness that swept over them. Adedoyin's heart raced. They were losing momentum. "Do not give up," she urged, her voice steady. "Remember the pain she has cost us all. Remember why we fight." As her words reignited a flame, the villagers rallied once more, their voices rising in unison. The light surged forward, a brilliant beacon of hope that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. Adedoyin felt a surge of power course through her veins, igniting her spirit. "You are nothing without your darkness," she shouted, her voice booming. "We will not be silenced." As the villagers combined their strength, the shadows began to recede, and Iyabo's expression twisted into one of fury and disbelief. "You cannot defeat me," she hissed, her eyes wild with rage. "I will take what is rightfully mine." Adedoyin felt a sudden surge of clarity. "Iyabo, your power is built on fear and manipulation. It's time for you to face the truth of your actions." With a firm voice, she continued, "You have harmed so many, including your own family. It's time to confess." Iyabo's face contorted with rage, but Adedoyin pressed on. "Confess. The villagers deserve to know the truth. Your darkness will only continue to consume you if you do not confront it." In that moment, a flicker of uncertainty crossed Iyabo's features. Adedoyin seized the opportunity. "You are not invincible. You are a woman driven by fear, blinded by your own desire for power. Confess your wrongs, and perhaps there is still a chance for redemption." Iyabo hesitated, the shadows around her wavering as her anger faltered. For a brief moment, the darkness receded, revealing the vulnerability hidden beneath her fierce exterior. Adedoyin could see the cracks in Iyabo's facade, the fear that had driven her to such extremes. "Confess, Iyabo," Adedoyin urged, her voice steady. "It's not too late to change. Else, you will regret what will happen to you next." The story continues. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for following along with this story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, drop your comments and thoughts, subscribe and share it with your friends. Your support means the world. See you in the concluding part of the story.